So I'm going to present the work we did at ESO in collaboration with Archetree on the Maori LGS wavefront sensor trade-off. So the field of view of the subaperture of the LGS wavefront sensor is really the crucial question. And I have a brother-in-law who always knows everything, you know, on all subjects, and I asked him the question, and he said, this is the answer. And I think it's actually not so bad. So maybe it's just wrong by a factor of 2, or maybe it's even true. Okay, so, but let's be more serious. So to study this problem, still we need a quantum computer because we need to quantize the field of view variable. Because I studied only 3 field of view to have enough time to explore the parameter space. And so what are these these 3 field of view? So the first field of view is the 10 arcsecond one, and we chose this one because it well samples the spot. But when you well sample the spot, you are truncated, and we don't like that. So we said, okay, let's go to 20 arcseconds. Then you are not truncated anymore, but you are undersampled, and that's bad. So what you can do then is that you can enlarge the spot. And, yeah.
The baseline is 10 by 10 pixels.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll say just later, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I made a mistake in the ordering of the. Yeah, 10 by 10. So the solution to this problem of undersampling is to enlarge the spot. So in all my presentation, I will suppose that the spot is enlarged sufficiently so that we are sampled with 1 pixel per full width half max. And so the goal of the study will not to find out which is the value, but to find actually the Greek variables, which are the probabilities for this field of view. So here are the conditions. So the flux that I consider is 470 photons. This is the minimum number of photons per subaperture we have 90% of the time. We consider the LISA camera, so 10 by 10 pixel. What is important here is the seeing will always be the same, but I will consider a mean CN2 square, a CN square profile, a bad CN square profile, and also the same thing for the sodium profile. So here is the trade-off space. The problems are here: nonlinearity, quasi-static bias, and noise. Nonlinearity I have spoken a bit about. So what are the tools to solve these problems? We have regularization, spot shaping I just spoke about, and classical, what is happening?
New box. New variable.
So it's, so what I will consider here is only classical center of gravity, because I want to say in the philosophy that we inherited from Adaptive Optics Facility project, where we want to be simple, robust, no calibration, or not many calibrations, and have the less possible parameters to update online. So now this is the difficult part, number 1. Here, what I want to see here is how does the telescope, and the ECUT is a laser guide star wavefront sensor, how does it see a laser guide star in absence of turbulence? And what you can see is, you can consider that each of these point sources, they have a given intensity, and seen from the telescope, they carry a wavefront which depends only on its position, and this wavefront is composed of tip, tilt, and focus. And now if you look at what the wavefront sees, what the Shah-Hartmann sees in its subapertures, you will see a ponderated sum of these terms, and the weighting is the intensity of each of these spots, which means that the Shah-Hartmann sees only tip, tilt, and defocus, which is a function of the sodium profile. So when the sodium profile varies, these modes, tip, tilt, and defocus vary, but since we are filtering them, actually the wavefront is flat. So is this true? Actually, is this always true? It's not always true. So here I have now reproduced the wavefront, the RMS of the static wavefront in function of the field of view. And so I have separated in astigmatism and the high frequency part. And you see that for large field of view, where you have no truncation, you have really a flat wavefront. And the lower the field of view, the more there is aberrations. So this is for 1 gentle sodium profile. If you have a really bad sodium profile, it is just completely exploding. But you see, it's rather good. This is actually rather good at large field of view. Now, one important point. When you do that, you have to be very careful with the center of gravity you use, because when you use a threshold, you are actually already truncating the spot just by soft. So to solve this problem of, because when you put a threshold, actually you introduce a truncation and you ruin all your benefits of large field of view. So the solution to that is to use windowing. So we use a binary window, and the idea is to build this binary window to be static and to take into account all your budget in your system, like NCPA, spot variation, and everything. And this permits to solve your problem of the readout noise. You reject the readout noise without introducing any bias. Now, a difficult part, number 2. Now, suppose we have here a truncated spot, and so what happens is that if you measure a slope, with this, you are completely wrong. But the only direction where the measurement is wrong is in this direction. And so what you can do is to use regularization. So here I call this projection regularization, which is by Michel Talon and Clémentine Bécher. It's not there. They didn't invent this name, they just invented it. And so what does this regularization? So here now, we have again here the elongation direction. We have here a center of gravity, a wavefront reconstructed from a center of, no, it's a slope reconstructed from the center of gravity algorithm, which is obviously bad because we have truncation. And so this matrix actually multiplies by the component of this matrix to get just a projection on the direction which is perpendicular to the elongation. And like that, you keep half of the measurements, and you are able to measure also the aberrations in the lateral dimension. So this is applied in the simulations, and actually the users has to choose the subapertures that it considers to be truncated, which means that there is a threshold which is called TG, and so on the next slide you can see. So depending on TG, so here what is represented here is the subapertures that are not regularized. So when you go to small values of TG, you regularize more and more subapertures, and at the end you have only 1/3 which have not been touched. And so this is a parameter that I use in the simulation. So here, one simulation here, which shows that, so in this case, I suppose that I have calibrated my static aberrations. So they are in the simulations, they are computed at iteration 0, and they are subtracted. In that case, you see that when you don't regularize here, you have an error. The threshold is lower because you have some dynamical noise propagating on this longitudinal direction. And when you regularize, you go closer to the maximum threshold ratio you can have in bright regime. And there is a minimum. There is a number where this threshold happens. In this case, it's 50%. Now, if you don't subtract the reference, you actually, when you do not regularize, you start with a really large error. So you have a 12%, we have 20% of threshold ratio loss. And then if you go towards increasing the number of subapertures that you regularize, you reach a given plateau at some value, which is here 66%. And so this is quite impressive what you can do with just by regularizing it. It's even a bit scary, I think. So now I will show a few other simulations where I use these variables. So I forgot to speak about 2 other variables. So there are 2 other variables in the regularization. The first one is just the noise in the non-elongated spots. And beta max here is expressed in kilometer, but it corresponds to 10 arcseconds of mean elongation. And the TG is fixed to 66% for the 2 small field of views, and the field of view 20 doesn't need regularization because there is no truncation. So first, performance in function of flux. So in an old result, actually, we were very puzzled because all the field of view were giving the same performance of the Schwell in function of the number of photons. And now with the new regularization parameters, and thanks to the threshold, we managed to go beyond this limit here, which corresponds here. Sorry. I go back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the same limit as this. And so what you can see in this curve is that for field of view, for high flux, the field of view 20 is the best. And for low flux, it's the field of view 10 arcsecond. So now we have at least one way to discriminate between the three field of views. And now, so now I just will finish with the performance when you have a bad sodium profile. And for instance, and I compare the bad sodium profile and compare a good, what do I say? Yes, no. So I am CN square mean, sorry, and I compare a good sodium profile and a bad sodium profile. So bad sodium profile is in dashed line. And here you see that for the field of view 20, actually, he prefers the bad one, because it looks like a point source for him. Because he always sees a point source, so it's good for him. Now, if you go to 15 arcsecond, okay, 15 arcsecond, doesn't care. And 10 arcsecond, you're okay in the scientific field still, but you lose in the technical field. And I try to recover this by better regularization, the TG optimization, but it doesn't work. So here is really also a case where the field of view of 10 arcsecond is really has difficulties. So my conclusions. So well, one of the main results of all this work was to say that yes, we can fix all the parameters once for all to a reasonable value, and you are near optimality 90% of the time. If you wish to do better, then you can still at least update sigma n, which is the noise parameter. So you have to be careful with the sampling of the lateral width of the spot. And also here, I don't know what to do with this problem of the quasi-static aberrations, where we need a lot of regularization to compensate it. And this, I think that having no quasi-static bias would be certainly an asset for non-common path aberrations compensation that we have not yet analyzed as a problem, but we would feel more confident with it. Okay, and finish with a slide with my estimation of how to influence the probabilities of finding the good field of view.
So that means that 15 is probably the good one.
15. The 15, I forget, yes.